Hello again, everybody. NASCAR Fan 19 here, and I've gotten a little preface about next week's edition of NR2003 Predicts before we get into this week's. I know I've done some messages in text form before, but I feel like saying it out loud is going to be a lot easier than reading it. And I figure that anyone that's watching next week's edition would be watching this week's, and so easier to say it now than wait until whenever next one comes out, which is kind of where I'm leading on to. So the next 2 weeks are a little funky for me, and I can't actually say why they're going to be funky. I will say it at some point, but I'm not going to say it immediately. And in the middle of those 2 weeks lies Pocono, which is where the problem is. So obviously with the Predict series, I'm trying to get these out before the race happens, and occasionally I miss that mark just for reasons that I can't control. But in this situation, I have a little bit of a thing that I got to take care of that is probably going to push this one back. I'm basically sure that it's not going to come out before the race. I don't even know if it will come out on Monday or even Tuesday. I have zero clue when I'm going to be able to do this. What I will say is, I will run it between qualifying and race. That I will do. I will make sure that there's no bias onto what I finish off as. I'm not trying to match the results if I do it after the race. I'm just going to run it based on the ratings that the computer gives me. But yeah, I will run it between qualifying and race. Whenever I actually edit it is completely up in the air, because of the thing that I'm doing that I can't say yet, but you'll find out about it. I'll make a video about it. You'll just see. But I figure saying it now is going to be better than posting it like Thursday next week, and people are like, oh, well, that's late. Now, I'm saying it right now. It's probably not going to be out on time for reasons that are personal to me, and you'll be a part of it at some point. But that is it. We'll get on to the New Hampshire race and see y'all at the end of the video, I guess. This is NR2003 Predicts. Using constantly updating ratings, we determine where Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series drivers will place at any given track any given week. Standard disclaimer, this video is for entertainment purposes only, using the process of artificial intelligence, and should not be used in the process of gambling. So here's how it works. We update drivers' ratings week by week as we go throughout the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series schedule. We run a 100% simulation with normal tire wear and fuel consumption. Qualifying results match what the drivers actually ran in real life. Because qualifying data can't be arranged at the same time as forcing cautions, stages will not be enforced throughout these races. And weather used reflects the real-time data based on the actual start time of the race. Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch make up the front row as they're ready to turn 301 hot laps. Green flag flies here at Loudon. Keselowski able to get the edge off of the inside of turn 1 and 2. We've seen them apply PJ1, the sticky stuff, into different grooves along this racetrack. Now it's going to become a matter of where is going to be the best line. Obviously, it is a heat wave across the entire country, but especially here in New Hampshire, one of the hottest races in the Cup Series on record. And we had a record set also in the Xfinity race yesterday. We're going to see how the drivers react to that. Alex Bowman, he's basically on a third-string car, starting in the back because he had a drive shaft break, didn't actually turn a lap, so he's trying to fight his way from the rear. He's having a little bit of a difficulty getting around some of these slower race cars on this very narrow racetrack. Denny Hamlin, another driver that's in a backup car after an incident in practice. He is one of a handful of drivers that have 3 victories at this racetrack. The most recent for Hamlin coming in 2017, the July race. The earliest in 2007, and the middle one in 2012. Jimmie Johnson, another 3-time winner at this racetrack, although his most recent one was in 2010. He also swept the 2003 races, but obviously a long time since he's been to victory lane here. Kyle Busch, another one of those 3-time victors. As you can see, he and Brad Keselowski have really checked out on the rest of the field. Looking from the back, there is a big gap between second and third place. So those front two really getting some speed here. Kyle Busch won here back in September of 2017. The most recent winner at this racetrack is Kevin Harvick, and he is also a 3-time winner here. The other wins coming in 2016 and 2006. He's a little bit further back in the field, trying to gain some ground, and obviously SHR winless on the year. Ryan Newman, a driver that really needs some good performances right now. He is another 3-time winner here, most recently in 2011, so obviously a long time since getting that victory. And now he needs to find that speed to get himself into the playoffs. Our most recent winner, Kurt Busch, also a 3-time winner. Those came in a sweep in 2004 and once again in 2008. Another driver that has not had a victory here in a while, but trying to make up some ground. Checking back in on the front of the field, and a little bit of contact between Keselowski and Austin Theriault, who's going a lap down. Martin Truex Jr. has caught up to these two. Keselowski, a one-time winner here, coming back in 2014 in the July race. Joey Logano, this was the site of his first victory, and obviously he's a New Englander. He got his first win in the Cup Series back in 2009, also won here in 2014. But beyond that, hasn't gotten any victories. Looking to make it so that he can get into the three-timer club. Kyle Busch going to try to make a move to the inside of Keselowski to take the lead for the first time, and he is going to be able to sweep underneath him in the middle of turn 1 and 2, and with 36 laps in the books, Kyle Busch is up to the point. Clint Bowyer is the other winner in the field. He has won here twice, 2007 and 2010. His finish here last year, though, was something less to be desired, 35th. So he is definitely trying to improve on that, and obviously he is also one of those guys on the cut line for the playoffs. We look back at the front, and Keselowski getting held up a little bit by lap traffic. Landon Castle, Ross Chastain in the way. Kyle Busch starting to get a little bit of a breakaway as the 2 and the 19 are getting held up a little bit by the lapped cars. And some struggles here for RCR, both the 3 and the 8, way far back in the field. Haven't quite gone a lap down yet, but they're getting into that dangerous spot, and obviously they have not adjusted pretty well. And another issue also for Ryan Preece, and these guys aren't having specific problems that we can tell that they've gone to pit lane for. They're just going really slow right now, so Preece is going to fall victim to Kyle Busch and go a lap down. How about Daniel Suarez? He's come out of nowhere, and he has found himself up in the second place over Keselowski and Truex Jr., who are still just behind him. And he is right outside that cut line as well. 18th place in the points, 4 points underneath Erik Jones. You can see Jones is about to get passed up by Kyle Larson. Larson's made a bit of a surge as of late. We talked about how he had a little bit of an issue getting into playoff contention. He's kind of gotten past that talk. Now we're talking about Erik Jones, who is just above the cut line, 2 points ahead of Ryan Newman in the 6th car. And Jones is not having a very desirable day. He's going to have to rack up as many points as he can. Alex Bowman, he's locked himself in with a Chicagoland win. Contact between him and Ty Dillon. Very fortunate that did not result in an accident. After what that 88 car has gone throughout this weekend, that was the last thing they needed. We're going to see Keselowski. He's going to duck down to pit lane first. And he does not have much company yet. But Kyle Busch, he's going to wait a little bit and then come down for his service. He's going to be among the last of the contenders in this race. And there's one contender that's having a problem, Martin Truex Jr. He's a bit slow getting on the pit lane, and it looks like it might be a fuel pressure issue. And it looks like Joey Logano might be experiencing a similar problem, as he's actually holding up a few cars, as he is all the way down in turns 1 and 2, and he's going to have a long way around the racetrack to get back to pit lane. Meanwhile, after that cycle of pit stops, it's Paul Menard that gets out to the front. He got in a little scuffle with Harrison Burton yesterday. Now he's finding himself up at the front with Wood Brothers Racing. After Kyle Busch, a little bit of a later stop is going to cost him a few seconds. And he is all the way back in 4th place, going to try to chase down Keselowski, Hamlin, and then Menard. But actually, it looks like Denny Hamlin's going to have the faster car, and he's going to make a move to the inside of Paul Menard, and he is going to take over the lead. Denny Hamlin already won twice this season, looking for that 3rd victory. It could come today. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. trying to battle with Kevin Harvick. Harvick is pretty safe on points, even though he doesn't have that victory, but Stenhouse Jr. sits 19th in points. If he can't get that victory, he has a lot of points to make up. Meanwhile, Matt Benedetto, he had a very strong first practice, backed it up with a solid qualifying run, which might have been a little bit in effect due to the speedy dry of Bowman's incident, but he is starting to fade back in the field. Just behind him, Ryan Blaney trying to go around him for a lap. Blaney currently running in the 3rd position. This is a very solid run for the 12 team, and it seems like all of the Penske-affiliated teams running pretty solid right now. However, Chase Elliott going to try to make a move to the inside of the 21, who is fading back pretty mightily. That's going to send him all the way back to 8th place after he just had the lead. Looking at Ryan Newman trying to make a power move to the outside of William Byron to try to gain as many points as he can on Erik Jones. Looks like he has a little bit of an advantage on him in this race so far. Austin Theriault going down the backstretch is going to blow up. Not a great start. This is Terrio's Cup debut, the 2017 ARCA champion, not having a good run today. Kurt Busch going to try to make a move to the inside of David Ragan, who's having a pretty solid day. And Busch, last week's winner, trying to ride that momentum up to a good finish today. Top 10 would be satisfactory, but I'm sure he's looking for more. Clint Bowyer, meanwhile, he has to get some points under his belt for the sake of playoffs, and he is just outside the top 10, so he's running solidly right now. He's going to have to try to catch up with some of those guys, kind of lagging back from catching Kurt Busch and David Ragan. Looking at this head-on shot going down the backstretch, Austin Dillon has caught up a little bit of his ground, and we mentioned earlier in the race that both the 3 and the 8 were far back in the field. Well, it looks like the 3 has at least gotten into the top 20 as we see Keselowski coming down for the second stop of the day. Hamlin's going to follow just behind him, come down from the lead, which he was kind of extending it at the point that he was running. Kyle Busch, again, going to be one of the last ones to come down. We see how they cycle out after this one. Denny Hamlin extending his lead even further. And you can see Alex Bowman actually has some damage to his left side. That's kind of concerning. However, he's still on the racetrack and still in the top 20. But the gap between Hamlin and Busch extends as Busch once again getting bitten a little bit by having that later pit stop. Running on old tires just a little bit longer is not paying off. Erik Jones still trying to make up some ground, but in terms of how JGR is performing today, he is not up to par with them. Obviously, Hamlin and Busch up at the front of the field. Martin Truex Jr. had that mechanical problem, so didn't really have a chance to show what he had, and he was way up there as well. But Jones is not performing up to the speed that he should be, and obviously that's a little bit of concern for him. We see Ricky Stenhouse Jr. making a move to the inside of Chase Elliott and picking up some points. Stenhouse putting up quite a performance here at New Hampshire. Meanwhile, Ryan Blaney, he was up in the 3rd position at one point. He is back to 5th place, kind of getting held up by the lapped cars, Ty Dillon, Michael McDowell, but at the moment not really contending for much position. Chase Elliott's starting to fade a little bit. Now Paul Menard going to the inside of him. Erik Jones also trying to go inside as well, but he is not on the same lap that Elliott is. The side-by-side battle down the backstretch. Elliott struggling a little for position. Meanwhile, we see here comes Jimmie Johnson. He's going to make a pass on David Ragan to get a crack into the top 10. This would be a solid performance for Johnson, considering the season he's had. And here is Hamlin back up at the front. And just to show how dominant his race car is, look at him making a move to the outside of Chris Buescher to put him a lap down. And a great exit. That is just how strong that 11 car is right now. He can run any line and still be able to make it stick. We talked about the 3 car making up some ground. Here comes the 8 car. He's getting a pass on Darrell Walls Jr. Able to pick up that position, trying to gain a few more. See if he can crack the top 20 today. Meanwhile, Stenhouse Jr. has been able to catch up to Blaney and make the pass on him. Now Blaney trying to see if he can get back to the 17 car. But a great run by Stenhouse as he tries to get further up into points contention. He's not going to make up those points today to get into the top 16, but race by race, he can cut it down. Meanwhile, Kevin Harvick has started to charge a little bit. He's trying to catch the 18 to get into the runner-up position. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin has really checked out on the field, and we're seeing a little bit of a short pit strategy as Jimmie Johnson, Ryan Newman, and now Brad Keselowski are all in. A little bit shorter than the stints that we've saw in the first 2 pit stops. Denny Hamlin going to come down shortly after, as well as Kyle Busch, just to make sure that they stay on those same strategies. Don't want to stay out on those old tires. But you can see it doesn't really have an effect on the gap that Denny Hamlin has on the field, and Kevin Harvick has slotted in the 2nd place over Kyle Busch, who is now in 3rd. And you can see there is Harvick, and Busch is way back there, all the way at the other end of the backstretch. So a great pit stop by the 4 car. 18 not doing so well on that. But obviously that might have to do something with how long they stayed out on tires. Jimmie Johnson trying to make a move on his teammate for position. Battle inside the top 10 for 9th place. Johnson trying to make it stick on the bottom, and looks like he will be able to get it. Also a couple of Fords battling, Stenhouse Jr. and Menard. 21 trying to get that position away, and he's able to get there for now. Cracks the top 5. And here comes Blaney trying to also make a move on Stenhouse Jr. He's going to try to get into the 6th position. The Penske cars all running pretty strong right now. Logano obviously not going to get that chance with that mechanical issue. But you got Keselowski, Menard, and Blaney all running back to each other. We're going to see the white flag here. Denny Hamlin looking for his 4th victory at this racetrack, which would make him the leading active driver on wins. Also trying to see if he can get his 3rd win of the season, get some more playoff points, build that resume as they head into the rounds. Make sure that he can advance himself to the championship 4. JGR and Penske has dominated this season, and today there is not going to be an upset winner. JGR once again in victory lane, and Denny Hamlin will be the driver to do it. So the 11 car headed to victory lane, going to pick up some lobster. And here is the final finishing results. Kevin Harvick, with the earlier pit stop, able to get around Kyle Busch in the late stages. Brad Keselowski, the only other car on the lead lap on a caution-free event. Paul Menard, Ryan Blaney, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., great run for him. Last week's winner, Kurt Busch, in 8th, and Hendrick teammates in 9th and 10th. Here's the next 10 up. Clint Bowyer just outside the top 10, along with Ryan Newman trying to get those points. Erik Jones, 17th, not too good for him, while Austin Dillon was able to crack the top 20, as well as Alex Bowman, who had to start from the rear of the field. Matt Benedetto had a great practice run, did not translate to the race. Here's the next 10 down, and you can see 29 cars able to actually finish the race. Austin Terrier, the first one to end up out after blowing up on the backstretch. And here's the guys that all had some problems during the first pit stop. Logano, Suarez, Almirola, and Truex Jr. are going to be the notable names right there. Several of them having a good car, running great before those pit stops, and did not have the finish to show for it. That is it for this edition of NR2003 Predicts. We hope you enjoy the race, and we will see you all next time.